Jak duży wpływ na grywalność będą miały statystyki postaci, umiejętności i perki przez nas wybrane?
Yeah, so the abilities of your character will ultimately determine how successful you are in the game, and that includes, what your specials are, your base abilities, what skills you have, what perks you've picked up. Those will all determine how successful you'll be at the game, how much damage you'll do in combat, how effective you'll be with different types of weapons, whether you can do things like repair your weapons yourself or how well you heal yourself up. All of those types of things are ultimately affected by your character. So it's going to be about deciding what kind of character you want to play and developing that character as you go along.
Czy znajdziemy w grze elementy, w których powodzenie będzie zależało jedynie od zdolności manualnych gracza, a nie cech postaci?
For the most part, no. You're not really. We don't want anything where it's ultimately only determined by the player's abilities and not the character's abilities. That we always want there to be a mix. Obviously, you can't stand there and do nothing in combat. You got to press the button to pull the trigger. And if you're playing in real time and you're just sort of firing up into the air, you're not going to be very effective. But the idea is that in general, we don't want it to be a fast twitch game. That we want it to be a game that rewards the type of character you're playing and what it is that you can do in the game based on his or her abilities.
Czy wybór płci będzie miał wpływ na przebieg całej gry? Czy możemy się spodziewać momentów damsko-męskich, tak jak ma to miejsce chociażby w Mass Effectie?
The abilities of your character aren't really determined by your sex, boy or girl. The gameplay doesn't change dramatically. There are some instances where there's some slight changes in terms of the flavor. But for the most part, the game isn't designed to play wholly different whether you're a boy or a girl. It's not about, are there lots of romantic interest moments and things like that. It's more about what kind of character do you want to play? Do you want to play as a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, and what happens to you based on this character? Not, I got a completely different game because I played as a girl.
Czy w trakcie gry możemy decydować, w jaki sposób pokonywać będziemy przeciwności losu? Czy ukończenie gry możliwe jest zarówno brutalnym żołnierzem, jak i skrytym naukowcem?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the objective is that the types of skills that you want to pick will determine what you're good at. And if you pick things like science and stealth and you want to be, a sneaky guy who hacks into things and uses that to your advantage and you don't directly engage in combat or you spend a lot of time talking your way out of situations, that is ultimately a very viable gameplay option. Or if you just want to use big guns and blow stuff up as much as possible, you can also do that. So we do want that experience to be tailored to your skills and what kinds of things you've chosen to be good at.
Gule i supermutanty. Czy ich rola ogranicza się jedynie do bycia naszymi przeciwnikami, czy też będziemy mieli możliwość porozmawiać z nimi, handlować? Czy tworzą oni swego rodzaju społeczności, jak miało to miejsce w poprzednich odsłonach gry?
Ghouls work much the same as they did in the original Fallout, in that you can find them and they, you can talk to them, you can trade with them, interact with them much like you can in a regular human. Super mutants, for the most part, they're bad guys. As far as how you interact with them, I won't say anything else other than, they're the main bad guys in the game, and their role in the game is largely adversarial. They don't like humans, and they want to kill them and get rid of them, and you as a human are a problem.
Bractwo Stali. Doszły nas słuchy, że zmieniliście nieco pierwotny obraz tej frakcji. Mógłbyś nam nieco o tym opowiedzieć?
We've talked a little bit. If you go to bestsoft.com and you go to the Fallout website, you'll see, which is now in Polish, you'll see a team diary that Emil Pagliarulo, our lead designer, wrote that explains in pretty good detail about the Brotherhood of Steel, who they are, what their motivations are, what are they doing on the East Coast. There's a bit of a split, actually, in the Brotherhood of Steel and Fallout 3, and there's almost two slightly different factions with different thoughts on what their role is in the world. So, they're still the same type of faction that they were in the previous Fallout game. The group of guys who are really into technology and have embraced it. As far as what their motivations are, go read Emil's team diary and to learn the full story, you have to play Fallout 3.
Ile frakcji spotkamy w grze?
There's a variety of different ones. They're not groups that you necessarily join. It's more about these different groups that are in the world. Groups like raiders and slavers and different different groups that you come up against, and in some cases you may have a choice in terms of how you interact with them and deal with them, what you want your relationship to be with them. In other cases, it's already defined for you. These guys are bad. They don't like you no matter what it is you do. So there's a number of different types, but it is a pretty desolate post-nuclear world. So there's not a lot of what you would consider guilds or factions that are taking place in this world that you can join or interact with. It's pretty bare bones.
Dogmeat. Jaką spełnia funkcję i czy to jedyny kompan, jaki będzie nam towarzyszył?
So the goal of Dogmeat is really to provide a companion for the player, to give them, someone that comes along with them to hang out. The usefulness of the dog, he can find stuff for you. He'll attack your enemies. So he does prove useful in finding items like ammo or weapons or food. And he will attack your enemies. And he's pretty tough. He can take care of himself. So he does prove pretty useful. But it's entirely up to the player whether they even want Dogmeat around. They can send him off and just go do their own thing without him. And outside of Dogmeat, you can have one other human companion with you, who will travel with you and escort you as you go around and fight on your behalf and that kind of thing. No other animals besides Dogmeat. So you can have Dogmeat and one other human companion. That's it. And once Dogmeat is dead, he's dead. There's nobody else to take his place.
Wielu hardkorowych fanów gry zarzuca wam odejście od wzoru, jakimi były pierwsze części Fallouta. Co macie im na ten temat do powiedzenia?
I know that there are certainly, sections of the fan base that have expressed their displeasure that we are changing elements of the game. So I'm not worried that they're not going to like it. I know that they don't like it. But we just didn't feel like we could keep making the same game over and over again that had been made 10 years ago. That there were some things that we wanted to do to move the series forward and move the franchise forward, and that required making some changes, like the perspective and like some of the combat stuff. I hope that folks that like Fallout for the kinds of things that we remember it for, the story and the setting and the tone of the world, will still find all of those things in Fallout 3 and find that they really enjoy it. I don't think there's anything that I can necessarily say or do, or that anybody can, to convince them otherwise. The game will have to be judged on its own merits when it comes out, as far as, is it a really good game or not? Is it a really good Fallout game or not? I hope the answer to both of those questions is yes, but, we'll have to wait and see.